Alright guys, T2RX6 here, back for yet another set of fixes for Soar. Today, hopefully we're going to address your arm, these, and this transformation joint. So, let's get started here. Pretty much going to need screwdriver, once again, this oil, silicone shock oil, 80 weight is what I'm using, and a flat file. So the most obvious thing to prevent this piece from breaking, as I showed you in part 1, is going to be to take this and actually take your hobby file and carefully file the top of this piece here. Now remember, you're going to need to test fit these a number of times to make sure you can actually get it in the hole without putting too much stress on it and can pull it back out again without it snapping the piece. Because this is a chromed piece, there's a lot of friction on it anyway, so you really don't need it to plug into the hole very well. You can see, by filing that away, this is now smooth. So we're going to go ahead and go out on a limb here and take our unbroken piece here. Make sure our hands and everything are out of the way, because we certainly don't want to file anything unintentionally. We'll just give this a little bit of a filing, and we'll see what happens. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to file the top one too. The middle one, I should say. Because I just don't want this thing binding up when I'm trying to move it on the leg. So there we go. You can see we've removed the chrome from it. So we'll go ahead and do the top. Just a little. And I think for safety reasons, we're going to go ahead and do this piece on this side where it seems to clip in. And our middle one still is kind of holding us out of there, so let's actually hit that from this side too. And the idea is that this chrome here is just binding with these pieces, which makes this pretty unsafe to peg in. And there we go. So we got this. It's still secured in there, and it is extremely easily released. You may want to do a little more so you can get it in a little further, but you understand the idea of what needs to be done. So taking this off camera, I saw that the top here is also a bit of a problem. Again, be careful because we don't want to sand anything away that we actually want the chrome on. But we'll go ahead and we'll take some of this top bit out. And you can even see, like, when I'm filing this, I'm going straight across the piece, but there's obviously some places that are higher than other places. So you get this, boom, everything fits in there real nicely. You could probably go a little more to clean that up more, but that's good enough for me. I'm not gonna go any further than that right now, and it's easily released without it breaking. That's all I want to happen. Alright, so let's now go to the more slightly labor intensive fix. We're gonna turn this into this, and this is pretty easy. Ugh, hate that sound. So what we're going to do, first off, unpeg your swoop beak here. And make sure we have the right bit on our screwdriver. It is a Phillips head. We're going to get this. And we're going to take this piece off. Right here, there's 2 screws that hold this on. Take them both out. Make sure you have them in the right order. One of these is a bigger screw than the other, or it should be. And that goes in the top, and the slightly less lengthy one in the bottom. So keep them there. Once you have this whole thing just unpegs. 2 bolts hold on swoop's head and everything. So I've already done this shoulder, so we're going to focus on this shoulder. The best thing to do is to unpeg this like you're going to transform them. Just like that. Now, we're going to take this, and we're going to unscrew these 3 screws right here. Again, very simple fix. Only one thing we need to be aware of, and we'll get to that as we get this last screw out. Alright, so this pops straight out. If you're having a little trouble, it might be stuck in there a little. You can kind of wiggle it a little and it should eventually come out. Now be careful. There is this spring ratchet here. This is the part that actually controls that sliding mechanism on the arm. You can actually see the ratchets in there. So make sure you don't put this back together without that being there. And you can, with this free like this, you can pop this off and you can see it's got like a track in there for that top circular piece and stuff. Not hard to get out, it's just it could get caught a little when you're trying to move this. So you're left with this. And you can see right here, it's just a really tight fit of this mushroom style peg, and right here. So again, we take a little bit of the silicone shock oil. Just like one drop here will be more than enough. Put it on here, just like that. Let's see, hopefully you can see it. There we go, just one tiny little drop, and kind of move it around with your hand. We don't want too much. In fact, I gotta go back and take some off of the legs because they're a little bit too loose now, but we can wipe some of that off. And just kind of make sure you get it on the surface where the mushroom peg hits, and then that side surface. And we do the same thing for the other half here. Again, tiny little drop. This is why this thing has lasted me years, because you barely need any for most applications. So put it in. And then the most important thing to do before you reassemble this guy, besides get the excess off your finger, a rag is preferred, but I always use my jeans. Take this and just kind of put it in the spot and twist it around a little on both sides. Because what that's gonna end up doing is anything we missed by hand, that's gonna help lubricate it. And you can also see we've ended up getting a little bit inside that mushroom peg here. So now that we have this all back together, we have that fixed, we'll take this, make sure you get it back on its little track. Easier to get on the track than it is to get off half the time. Take your arm, plug it back in position and hold it in place, and make sure your ratchet's in there. And then just put this other half, and before you screw it, you can go like this to make sure you got it back. And then it's a matter of just closing this guy back up here. So I didn't reattach the wings, but here you go. Not a squeak in sight. Perfect. Alright, so for our last fix, this is definitely the most complicated fix we've got at this point, because there's some really small pieces in here, so be very aware of those small pieces. That said, this is still pretty easy. I've seen people who are cutting springs and stuff. That scares me. I don't want to cut any springs. It's very easy to mess up that spring, and don't do that. So again, we're going to use this, and we're going to use a screwdriver. Now let me just show you. This is the unfixed leg. I went on the other one first, and you can see mine works pretty decently for the most part. I know some people are a lot more difficult than mine was. Mine was only really difficult the first time. That said, by doing a little bit of a fix here, you can make it even easier. This one works like a champion now. So we're just going to take this because he's fixed. We don't need this leg. We're going to focus on this one. And you got to be aware of the little pieces. So make sure your hooks are unpegged. The one of them can be up, the other has to be down, and make sure your very fragile plastic piece is not in the way. So what we're going to do is take this and remove this screw here, and remove this screw down here. Everything else can stay. Just two screws here. So when we take this carefully, now what's going to happen is this is your ratchet piece here. There is a ratchet in here, and it's probably going to come out when we open this. It's probably going to offer us some resistance as we're trying to open it too. We also have to make sure we have this piece of the foot out of the way, I'm sorry. So you can see, as I've opened this spring, you can see where it's placed in there. It's kind of fallen out of the thing now, and it's out. Now this is the piece that most people have ended up, like, well, the person I saw that did a fix on this cut some of the coils of this spring, and you are really easily making it something that is irreparable if you make a mistake. Good luck finding a spring. All you really need is that this, you can see there's some kind of, you know, junk on it. You could sand that down, but what this does is it sits, come on camera, there we go, it sits in these teeth, and then by moving it, you're using this rounded surface to actually push this really tight spring up. So what we want to do is make it have more slip to it, so we don't really need the spring to move so much before it just kind of slips to the next gear. So once again, we take our oil, and this time you can be a little more liberal with it. I put a nice sized thing on there, and I just kind of take it and I rub it around, and I make sure that it's on top of, inside of all those grooves, everything like that. And if you want, you can wipe some excess away. If you're having trouble with it still, don't wipe the excess away. The more lubrication you have on there, the easier this thing is going to slip. I don't really need too much more than that, so that's where I'm going to leave it. Your mileage may vary, you know, go from there. So the important thing here is, so we're going to have this, and we want to keep this in mind that this is going to slide through here. But we got to make sure we get that ratchet in place, otherwise everything is just hopeless at this point. So, take a look at how this is going to line up. Make sure you understand that, just like this, okay? So we know that this piece down here goes right here. So what we're going to do is take this spring, slide it into its little channel here. And then the next thing to do is to take your foot, remembering the direction that it's going to plug in, which I have forgotten. So we're going to look, this is the back, so my foot should be this way. Again, whoops, I lost that spring, but just kind of comparing these two. And this is why this is the most complicated part. Okay? I was just wrong in the way I was doing it. So our foot will go this way in this piece. So we'll come back here, put our spring in carefully, hold the spring in place, grab your foot, put it in one of the socket chambers, and now you have to have a little bit of dexterity, I guess is the word I'm looking for, because we gotta have this here and have our foot held in place with one hand, like so. And then we're going to take this, slide it on in to that post, and we have it kind of like this. So you want to push on all the pieces so it just slides back in together, like so. And once we have that, it's just simply a matter of putting our screws back in. And now that we've got that all back in place, you can see this moves a lot more freely now, to the point that I can actually move it without moving the bottom knee joint. So, very easy fix. And now we just put our swoop back together, and he's $1,000,000. So, again, easy fixes. I hope you guys enjoyed part 2. I think I've covered everything that could possibly go wrong with swoop at this point. If you know anything else, please let me know, and I will be more than happy to make a part 3. See you next time. Alright guys, I've got one more bonus fix for you. If you are trying to fix Soar's heel spur because it gets stuck in there real easy, I am going to tell you how to fix it. If you've been following this stuff, you probably were thinking it's this. It is not. It's actually this outer surface here, or this inner cylindrical surface here, that is actually making the problem. So the best thing to do after we have this in pieces is going to be apply a little bit of this to the top. I applied some excess actually, but we're going to get this and we're going to slide it on in, and we're just going to give it a good movement in there to kind of lubricate all that. We can actually wipe away whatever excess we have once it's lubricated enough and reassemble everything. And now his heel spur should work fine. Again, it's not the post, it's actually the cylindrical shell of the post. Sorry, my camera keeps flipping in and out. So yeah, bonus little tip for you guys. I'll see you guys next week.